Hello and welcome to the third installation of Throwing Leaves with Tzuri and Joe.
I am Tzuri,
And I am Joe.
and today we are going to talk about education. And as a guiding question, I want to ask you, Joe. I want to ask you something, and I want us to speak freely around this question. And the question I want to ask is whether or not children or teenagers should drop school at an earlier age to become expert in their favorite field, like say computer science. So to be more specific, let's say I'm a teenager, let's say I'm 16, and I am developing some sort or have been developing a tendency towards computer science, and I like computers, and I like maybe I even learned a couple of computer languages in my spare time, and I enjoy um, this occupation. And the question is, what benefit would another 2 or 3 years of school and maybe a couple years of college as well gives me over just um, trying to learn more and more about this specific field of computer science. So let's say instead of going to school for another couple of years, I offer to just become an expert, maybe even not taking some sort of course, but just program something on your own time. Just develop some kind of software so that in future in job interviews you could present it and show the people that you are responsible for developing this, whatever you develop. So this
Um,
is the question, and let us hear what you think first.
okay, so I think that this question is actually regarding a symptom of a much broader problem within the system. Because I think your hidden assumption is just saying, look, we currently have a system of education and it's not efficient. It's not efficient enough. And for a lot of people, they can do stuff more efficiently if they drop out of the system and do it by themselves. Am I correct with my assumption? Is,
Yes, yes, that is what I'm asking.
okay, so I think that it's not a declared path today, but I think that there are people who do what you say, that at about 15 or 16, they don't drop out of school, but usually, come less and less and invest more and more in either software programming or something else that requires a lot of refined skill in a specialized zone, and develop something or create something and go about and do it without completing their education, or completing their education without actually being there. It's usually people that are in the top percentiles of the population, at least intelligence wise. um, So I think this is already happening, in very small percentages. I personally know two people that did something similar, and so it can happen. But you say maybe we should do it a little more broadly, and I think that um, we can take it to the point of seeing why we have such an inefficient system in place, and what can we do about it. Maybe we can turn this system to be a little more efficient, so people can get more value out of it. The young people.
Yes. And but you know, I think it's the same question. So the way I presented the question, I asked whether children or teenagers should invest their time in a more specific field and stop wasting their time in schools. Um, and yes, it's the same question. It's the question of also whether in a more general setup, in a broader sense, we should make the education system more efficient. And so the question is, the first question is, what makes it inefficient?
Yes. So what I'm actually saying is that the percentage of people who can be successful with dropping out after 9 years or 8 years of school and be very productive with what they're doing and be very self educating is very small. And
Why?
and moreover, I can say that there is um, some common knowledge that we do want anyone that's going to be a citizen, an adult citizen, to have. But we do want the system to be a little more efficient, not a little more efficient, and we want to have more value for the time that people are investing in the system, because right now it isn't. I think everyone that's going to a middle school or a high school knows that uh, the material taught there could be taught in half the time or less, and most of it is not something that you're going to use in real life.
Yes, so let's try to be maybe a bit more specific about what kind of material shouldn't be included in school. So I mentioned earlier geography lessons, just because I feel that my personal experience with geography lessons is that I remember very, very, very little of them, and I know where countries are, but that's not because I took lessons. It's because my parents bought me an atlas, and I happened to look at it from time to time. And obviously today there is Google Maps and whatever, and children can know exactly where where everything is well enough. So I find it very hard to, let's say, it's very difficult for me to think of something that stuck with me from geography lessons. This is why I'm giving this example, and I want to try and generalize and describe what kind of material shouldn't be included. So I think that it's safe to say that everything that revolves around developing language is important. So probably, we shouldn't give up on anything like that. But there are some courses, some classes that the content that is described is more, let's say, it's more memorization. And I don't even know that at such an earlier age you have the ability to understand the concepts you're learning. You're just memorizing, and I think that this way of learning is flawed. I think you gain very little from it.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that have changed in the last 5 to 10 years, that memorization has lost almost all of its value, because today it's very easy to get information about anything and everything that you're attempting to know. if you want to know who was Genghis Khan, or for example, it's very easy to know that, and you don't have to find someone who remembers who he was or can tell you the story. You can just click his name to Google or Wikipedia and have this knowledge instantaneously. But
Yes.
having said that, there is still some things that you want young people to know, because not everybody will be curious by nature and will go and find those things by themselves.
Yes. So yeah, so I think you're referring to what should be general knowledge, right?
Yes.
So if you are living in a certain country, I think it's reasonable that you know the general history of the place you live in. And ultimately, you become some sort of a decision maker. You have the ability to vote. So we wouldn't want you to know to just how to develop software and know nothing about where you came from. But I really don't see again how information about geography can help you with that. And I'm not sure we should teach everything we teach in history either, because A, we remember very little of it. I don't think it's not important. I think all people should know history to some level, but I'm not sure the place to teach it is like the seventh grade. I remember very little from history at the seventh grade, so ultimately it makes little contribution. I know who Julius Caesar was. Yes, okay. I remember very little from the rest of the history lessons that revolved around Romans.
Yeah, I think that the stuff that actually makes you remember, at least it works like that for me, that are projects that you actually put the work on. Um, so stories that you actually had to do some work to tell or to portray or to build something that is related to that. Those stuff you remember, and those stuff matter to you. You remember that years later. Stuff that you just sit in a classroom and someone tells you, and you write to a notebook, and maybe they ask you a few questions to write it again in your notebook at home. Those stuff are not sticking. Uh, you,
Yes.
you're not really going to remember that, and it's basically a waste of time.
Yes.
You can go to a much more modern example. If you take an online course to learn something that you actually want to learn, and then you don't use it for a few months, you're probably going to forget it, or at least forget a lot of it.
Yes.
So I guess it should be focused a little more on building stuff and doing stuff that matter, at least to the child, and less on sitting in a classroom and hearing people talk and writing to notebooks.
So you are talking now not just about what to learn, but about how to learn.
Yes, if you remember, maybe it's not the best time to unveil that, but we both participated in a certain movie uh, based on a certain Bible-related story. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Do you remember the story?
I remember the story, yes.
Okay, so I guess this
But
can.
it's a very famous story, so
Yeah, but I think this is why you remember that,
yes, yes.
because you actually had to do some work in order to portray that story.
Yes, I, I,
And
I even remember the scene itself. I remember the scenes and I remember what happens during the scenes, and I even remember that sometimes before the actual story. So that's a proof that what you're saying is right.
yeah, I don't think it's an important story, the one that we remember. I don't think it's the story for the listeners that hasn't been to a certain fifth grade in Kiryat Bialik in Israel. It was the story of David and Bathsheba. Uh, from the Bible, and we with four other fifth graders, I think it was fifth grade, maybe I'm wrong, had to make a movie about it, and we did it. It took us a few meetings of a couple of hours each, and then we had to edit it and show it in class. Um,
I think it was the seventh grade.
Seventh grade, okay.
Yes, because one of the participants wasn't with us at the fifth grade.
Oh, okay, okay. I stand corrected. I actually still remain seated, but this is the phrase. So, getting back to that, it's not a very important story. I would uh, actually would have liked to remember to this detail much better fictional stories. But the thing is, we had to do the work in order to do it, and this is why it stays in the memory, because you actually did something for it, and you actually did some work, and you had to do the research, and you had to do something for it. And if we just learned it by listening to the teacher talk, it wouldn't have stayed that way. At least that's what I think.
Yes, and this, I think this also raises some questions about budget, but I think we should sidestep these questions for now, because they probably what people will argue is
Yeah, but
that you have to invest more money in order to be able to.
yeah, but to answer your question, so if you learn that through geography, I think you can narrow it down when you say, okay, what do we think that a kid has to know about geography? Um, Maybe what is topology? Maybe how to look at a map, a topographical map.
Yeah.
Maybe to know which continents there are, or major countries. So I think it can be if you geography is taught at least in Israel for how long? How many years? You remember?
I don't know, but many years.
Yeah. So let's say you can sum it up to maybe one or two projects a year on 5 years, and 10 projects is more than enough to show everything that I talked about. Uh, if you focus and if you build it in that way, that you build, okay, this is the knowledge that I want these people to have, and then I start to find creative ways to how am I going to make them remember that and know that and care about it. And I actually don't like you, I don't remember what we actually talked about in geography lessons. I have
Yes.
absolutely no idea right now. But if you think about what you do want people to know, what will help them in their life, maybe, and is considered general knowledge, I think it's mostly what I said earlier.
Yes.
This is what you can expect.
Uh,
Where some of the big rivers in the world are, some of the big mountains in the world are. Um, I think that's pretty much it.
yes. Should probably, by the way, be embedded in history lessons somehow, because
Like,
this is where you.
it can be. It can be. Yeah. If you look at history, I remember a lot of dates that they had to remember, and certain reasons for stuff that happened, but the exact reasons, and uh, we just memorized a lot.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that we should. I think that there are two important concepts in this regard, and the one is structure, and the second concept is content. And when I say structure, I mean reason. I think there are lessons that teach you how to be reasonable. And I think that currently there are none. I mean, the lessons that should develop your reasoning are philosophy, math, I don't know, maybe physics, maybe literature, and English if you're an English speaker, or whatever other language you may speak. These are the lessons that will develop your reason. Maybe there are more, and there are lessons like, again, history and geography and even biology, when they teach it, by the way, in preschool. The the way you study it as a child is memorization. You don't understand what this concept means. Like, for example, I remember they taught us about the flower. So they talked about the part of the flower called pistil, and yeah, I remember the name. I remember the Hebrew name. I had to look up in Wikipedia while we speak to come up with the English equivalent, but I remember the Hebrew word for it, but I don't remember what it does. I don't remember what its functions are. I'm sure that the teacher tried to say something about it, but that wasn't what I was required to remember. The the requirement was, again, memorization, to memorize what it is and what it does, if it does something. And again, the way it was taught was inefficient. So what I started to say earlier is that I think that lessons such as math, literature, and philosophy, not that children study philosophy, but that's another problem. So I think that these lessons develop your way of reasoning, and then you have to approach differently uh, to lessons that involve more about memorization. And I think that this should develop separately, and that let me say it this way: I think that your reasoning is not developed enough as a teenager. That's what I'm actually saying.
I would
Do you
agree.
agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Do
I
you
agree with
understand
that.
what I am talking? Yes.
I agree with you on that. That reasoning is not something that is that developed. I think memorization is the simplest way to teach you something, and that if you're tested on that, on a span of a couple of months or maybe a year, it's the easiest way to actually achieve results. So if I teach you a complex concept in physics or in mathematics, and I make you memorize all the laws that makes this be like that, and make you memorize all the tricks that can be used in question that that a test might show you, then this is the way that most of the people will be able to cope with this and actually succeed in a test that will ask them about these things. And this is the easiest way. But I think we should. The thing that should be done is teaching less material, but investing more in each stuff that you do teach. As you said,
Yes.
develop the reasoning. I think that one of the things that someone should be able to do after high school is to be able to prove a point, either prove a point or convince someone of a point, give
Yes.
give a convincing argument. I think this is one of the skill sets that you have to have when you're done. I think you have to have some life skills like what is a bank account, what is interest, what is investment.
Yes, because we somehow end up learning the important things ourselves, right? It's sort of ironic because you're in the education system for 12 years, and then when you go out of it, you have to learn the important stuff yourself.
Yes,
Like,
and the most frustrating thing is that you have been a student for 12 years and you have no idea how to learn.
yes,
You start whenever you start learning something, you start by trying to memorize it, and it doesn't work when it's complex things. It doesn't work, at least not for long, if you try to just memorize what you see.
yes,
You have to understand the reasoning behind it. You have to just understand the mechanics, and if you don't do that, you won't remember it for long. You just have stuff, a bits of information that sometimes will make sense and sometimes won't. And but yeah, right now it's kind of okay. We have this bunch of stuff that needs to pass through to the students, and we don't trust the teachers to do it. So we're going to test that every bit of what we said that the kids should know, they know, and the only way that they can be knowledgeable, at least to some extent, with this material is if we make them memorize it. They hate memorizing it because everybody hates memorizing stuff, so they hate school. And
yeah.
then they don't invest any time in it. They invest the minimum of time that they can in it, and this is some sort of vicious cycle that doesn't help anyone.
Yes, and I want to ask another question, but slightly different from a different angle
Yeah,
about something you just said. Um, so I want to talk about tests for a bit because eventually, I mean, at least one of the roles of the education system is to measure how smart you are. And although smart is a vague concept, um, so maybe I should use another word, although I feel like we know, I feel like we agree about what I mean, but I can use the expression like potentially successful or whatever. It doesn't really matter, but what I want to say is that um, and I'm saying it with regard to to what you said, that eventually children hate school. So I think one of the reasons for that is tests. And the question is, should we try to measure how smart people are? And if we should, then how should we do it?
okay, so
So about how, I think you said a couple of words about how. And the question is probably more about should
should
we?
well, as I see it right now, it comes out of a certain necessity. So it's a backward logic that says um, there's only if there's X people in a class here, and 0.2 of X can go to college or universities, and I don't have enough space to allow everybody to go. So I need to decide who are those 20%. The percent can be different, can be 40%, can be 60%, can be 10%. It's just not all of them. And I need to decide. I have to decide, I have to measure, and I have to decide who is more fitting. And um, this, let's call it a necessity or a constraint is a better word, causes us to have to distinguish between the high school kids and then because we want to make this process better, we say, okay, if we distinguish within the high school kids, we already put them in boxes, so we have to distinguish between the middle school kids and the preschool kids, and it goes back like this. So this is one reason. The other reason is you always want to quantify things. As a human beings, we like to quantify things. So we want to say, this is how much knowledge you have. This is how much smart you are. And I have something to say about that. To say how much knowledge you have, I think you can measure it in tests, and it's accurate to some point. So it actually tests mostly your memory and then your skill. So if you're skillful, you can pass. If you have the memory, you can pass. You can pass on memory alone. Um, but the thing is, when you say, okay, how smart you are, I believe that the differences between people are much smaller than we care to think. We just want to think that yes, some people are smarter and some people are more stupid, and there's and once you put these labels, there's nothing you can do about it because okay, so they put a label of smart on you, so you're smart, but and if they put a label of stupid on you, then that means that there's nothing you can do about it, which is stupid, and I believe that it's not correct to say the least. That people can do a lot of things, and they just if you if they found what happened in school boring, or uh, they didn't like the way it was taught and just didn't do the work, or didn't listen, or had short attention span, or anything like that. And I think there's a saying, I don't remember who said that everybody's a genius, but if you judge a fish by its way to fly, it will live its life believing it's stupid. And this, of course, is an exaggeration, but um, I actually believe it to be true to at least some extent. Not everybody is equal not everybody is exactly equal, and people are different greatly from one another, but everybody can do a lot of things if they have the motivation, and if they have the will, and if they have the tools to do it, if they have access to good learning materials and time and good learning environment.
Yeah, and I think we're stepping a bit into economical issues because I think that the way economy is built actually, I mean, this is eventually the constraint you were talking about because we don't want all people to be successful. I mean, I'm using the word want here a bit metaphorically. But the thing is that we need people to do the dirty work, and we can't have everyone be I don't know professors. And I think that this is sort of built into our society right now. I think that unless we give people more choices economically, so so I'm talking about more jobs, more quality job, etc. And then unless we can do that, this constraint will remain as is because the, the fact that there are more desirable jobs that are, excuse me, there are less desirable jobs than people who want them will always cause this situation.
Well, if we get into the economics of it, I think what you're actually saying is we have to have people that near poverty levels, so people would agree to take upon themselves jobs that otherwise they wouldn't want to do.
Yes, yes.
This is a very bleak statement. I don't think it's incorrect, but it's very bleak. And hopefully, the robots will swarm in a few years and make this statement obsolete.
Yes, but we could also hope for something else. We could also hope that people who do the hard work will get paid more. So the economy is not built that way. That's what I'm saying. The economy is built the way that the more desirable jobs pay more. And of course, it has to do with supply and demand and a lot of other stuff that we're not going to talk about. But what I'm saying is that I think that hard jobs should pay more. I don't know how to do it, but it's not like the only way to make the situation better is to produce more robots. That's what I'm saying. We could also be more social, and it's no secret that recently in Israel there has been a lot of fuss about how do you call like the cleaning workers in the universities. There's been a lot of fuss about that, and about the fact that they are not directly employed by the university. There is a company that employs them, and the university rents the services of that company, and of course the executives get paid like 100 times as the cleaning workers themselves, and so on and so forth. And I wouldn't be surprised to find out that there are many more countries with that illness.
Actually, I think that
Not Scandinavian countries, God forbid.
yeah, but I don't think we're the only place that people who clean don't get paid very much. Um, and I think that this is the kind of jobs that if if let's say that everybody would have received a certain amount of money from the country, and you could live not a comfortable life, but you could have not starve and have an apartment, not in a desirable place, like equivalent to a minimum wage or at least 80% of a minimum wage, without working, and then you could add yourself, to 180% of minimum wage by taking a minimum wage job. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people would not have taken this deal, because then there's a lot of jobs that people only take them because they have no choice.
Yes, of course.
And I think the system is built that way. Uh, so there will always be people that have no choice and they have to take whatever people give them.
Yes, yes. This is precisely what I'm saying is wrong. I'm saying that less desirable jobs should pay more, not less. Of course, again, this is not the way economy is built right now. It's built the opposite way. But
Yes. But
I
what
just
you're saying will happen the minute. Uh,
Jesus returns to earth
no, even before Jesus.
even before.
But if something like I said before would happen, that everybody will have some, sort of a safety net, and you say, okay, even if you don't work, you don't starve, and you do have a place to live, then people won't accept those kind of jobs for this kind of money. So we'll either take these jobs for a lot of money, or this will go unfilled. Those positions will go unfilled.
Yes, but then the argument against what you're saying would be that you have to finance people who don't work, right? Because you're saying that people who have the opportunity to earn enough to live and not starve. And I assume that unfortunately the way human nature, whatever that means, so the way human nature works now is that many people will use that option, even if they can find a job that is more fulfilling and pays more. So of course it's not all that simple, but I do feel like there are things that can be done.
Yeah, well,
And of course, what you're
the thing
saying
is,
does exist in certain countries.
the thing is mostly what you hear is this is what the market set for this, and so this is where it should be.
Yes.
And I am not a strong agreeer with this claim because I think this is a place where you have someone that one of the sides has absolutely no choice in accepting that. So it's not actually a transaction between willing sides. It's between side that has no other choice. They have to live. They have to earn some money to buy food and to have shelter and all that. So,
Yes, I
so it's
agree
not
with that.
a place where the market would set it. It's the place um, where it will just happen because this is actually the minimum that an employer could pay, and so it pays the minimum, and he gets only the people who have no other choice.
Yes, yes. Um, there is a sort of tension here. When you decide what the minimum wage is, then the tension is between what you're saying is that the higher the minimum wage is, the more people have choice, and the less awful conditions employers can offer. But the problem is that as the minimum wage goes up, people's willingness to work at all goes down. And there is an example, a very good example in Israel for people who feed off others, so to say, so to speak. There are many religious people, like Orthodox, that use this option. They have been using it
Yeah, I
for
think it's
dozens of years, and it's a
yeah, I think
very, very strong issue in Israel that these people don't work, and they actually feed off the hands of people who do take the butter. And
yeah. I think if we go to the specific situation in Israel, I think it's more complicated than you say because people who actually do go to those yeshivas and I don't know how to translate it to English. Um, People who actually go there have are leading a very hard life. Uh, there is other people that say that they go there and do get this money and work without reporting in other places. This also happens, and um, it's not as black as white as you described, but of course you have to describe stuff simplistically. Uh, it's not as black and white, but there is a certain thing to it. Uh, they have developed a society that uh, actually frowns upon people who decide not to stay and learn and would go to work, and it's a society that uh, employs all kind of mechanisms from donations to staff sharing between themselves to unionizing to get lower prices on apartments and on public transportation to make this happen. And I think that they're mostly, uh, at least the leadership mostly wants them to be so intertwined that anyone who tries to leave actually is left with nothing, left without any means that he can survive. So even if he decides he doesn't believe anymore, it depends upon his survival on the community. So this is what is my take on that, and I think it's a little more complicated than just not wanting to work. I think there's some of them, and not their number is not that little, that actually want to lead a different kind of life, and it's very scary for them to do so because uh, they have no skills that can mean something to an employer. And so they can't go out of their community, and if they can't go out of the community, they can't get the skills, and it's again a cycle that will make it very hard for them to actually do something about it. But let's drop those people for a moment, and and talk about minimum wage. And there is a an opinion that says first of all that minimum wage um, is something that should be very low because jobs will be killed if you raise the minimum wage. It seems very logical, but it's not. I'll get to it in a second. And there's another one that says that minimum wage should be zero and the market should set it. And if, let's say, I want to employ somebody for 10 shekels an hour and you want to work for 10 shekels an hour, then there's no reason that someone should tell us that this should not be possible. Because if you agreed and I agreed, why would someone uh, not let us do it? So
Yes.
let's go to the first argument um, that says that this will kill jobs. I think that it is true in very extreme cases. So if we make the minimum wage very very high, this will actually do that. But if it's something reasonable, then either it will kill jobs that we didn't want to happen anyway, because
No,
uh,
but you want all jobs to happen. I mean, eventually you want people to clean where you work. I mean, unless we decide that people themselves should clean.
no, what I'm saying that yes, there is a point. If you're talking about cleaning, there is a point in which they would say, okay, we can't hire anyone to clean; we have to clean ourselves. There is this point that this job can be replaced by other people, by not doing it, by simply not doing it. But this point is not close to where we are today. This point is and in places that will cancel the jobs. It's places that probably the people who work there would have needed to receive some support from the state anyway, even after their salary.
Yes,
So we want to at least be in a place where everyone who works can live a decent life.
yes,
So every job that actually happens will make the guy that or the girl that is employed live a dignified life and able to buy food and buy shelter and all of those things. And
yes.
the second one is the one that uh, uh, that disregards the exploit that we said earlier, that it's not actually a deal between two people who have the same power. If you are, I don't know, Walmart, or if you are Shufelsal in Israel, or something like that, and you want to employ, you're not a player with the same power as an employee trying to get a job. And if the minimum wage was abolished, or very low, this is the amount you would pay, and there would always be people willing to take it because they have no other choice. They still need to get something.
Yes.
But
Um,
I think we kind of digress because we're starting to talk about education, and we can.
yes, this is exactly what I wanted to say. Is that I think it's safe to assume that every conversation will ever have will end up in economy somehow, and maybe that's a good criterion for deciding when to finish a broadcast is the minute we started digressing into economy.
Yeah.
Unless you want to say something about topics we discussed earlier.
Actually, I wanted to point to a nice video by again CGP Grey. I really like his channel, and it's called Digital Aristotle. And he said that he sees the future of education as having a digital tutor that is customized to you and is teaching you with your speed, throughout your life, not only on school but throughout your life. And he called it digital Aristotle because Aristotle was the one that was a tutor to Alexander the Great.
Yes.
Um, so he said that the best way to do it was a one-on-one tutor, when the tutor knows exactly who you are and what you're interested in, and just brings you harder and harder lessons, or lessons that you can always adapt to because he knows who you are, and he knows not to give you something too hard or too easy. um, this is his video as a nutshell. I don't think anyone needs to see this 5 minutes anymore because I ruined it. I'll post the link in the description anyway. And um, what do you think about it? Maybe.
um, let's say, let's take the, how do you call the Khan Academy dude? The, um, you know him? The guy from Khan Academy? Salman Khan, I think his name is.
Okay.
So that's the dude with the YouTube channel, and he had a famous TED lecture where he spoke about what he does. And for those of you who don't know Khan Academy is a YouTube channel where this guy who happened to learn throughout his life many lessons. I think he's an economist originally, and he had the chance to learn many fields, and he has a YouTube channel where he teaches many of the lessons that he had learned. So he teaches them through his YouTube channel, which I used on several occasions. When I googled for things I couldn't really understand from my lecturers at the time, and etc. And in this TED lecture, he spoke about some of the advantages that this way of teaching has, and one of them was the advantage of not being stressed by society. Um, so maybe we should discuss two advantages. So the first thing he said is that you can learn in your own pace. you can pause and play whenever you like. So if you are so if you're, let's say in normal school, if your teacher speaks at some speed and your ability to grasp is just you know 0.5 seconds above that speed, so your capacity to learn is a bit smaller, so you may understand very little of what the teacher said. And of course, in a YouTube channel, you can just pause and play whenever you like. This is one advantage, and another advantage which refers more to what we've been discussing is that you are not stressed by the presence of other people, and I view it as also a disadvantage. And I'm saying this because you spoke about a tutor that is designed for you in a way, and I just find it hard to imagine, even socially, just even with complete disregard to how it would affect your learning process. I'm just having difficulties to imagine a place where you study just one-on-one with no other students around you. I feel like there are several disadvantages to that. Like, first of all, a competition, after all, can be a good thing. It can be a bad thing for some people, but it can be a good thing as well. And also, I think you can learn a lot from other people, from their questions, from their way of thinking. I feel, at least personally, I feel like most of what I learn is from other people, and less from my lecturers. Um, so. These are my thoughts. I don't know how to, again, quantify what matters more, but I just feel like the presence of other people in my learning process is important. So even if there is such a thing as a tutor designed for you, who knows who you are and what you're interested in, so I wouldn't expect it to be the long solution for the problem.
Well, I see it as actually a big part of it, and I think that uh, as you are younger, uh, you need the group a lot more, and when you get older, you need it less, but you still need it a lot. And I see a solution that is kind of intertwined. That you start with this teacher, and again a group, and an actual teacher, an actual human being that only maybe quarter of your day or half your day um, talks to you about the things that you learned, and everybody in class can share what they learned, and show off what they're doing and everything like that, and have a place to show off what they're doing, and to develop social skills. It's also this is
Yeah.
important. And I think as you're getting older, your self discipline rises a bit, and you can change the percentages and do more by yourself, or by small groups, and less in the classroom. But you still need classrooms, so you have milestones. You have to show off what you did, and and yeah. This will still have a place there, but but I think after like 7 or 8 or 10 years of studying, you get to the point where most of your days are with this digital tutor, maybe in a group, maybe two people with a tutor, maybe one on one, and maybe 10% of your day or 20% of your day with other people. You might be still in the same room with other people, but you know just everybody does things in their own pace and on the topics that that are more useful to them. I don't say more interesting, but more useful.
Okay, so I for some reason view it the other way around. I think that this tutor, this digital tutor, I view it as more a complementary aid for real time physical human being teacher. I don't know why. I think it's more a general feeling. Maybe it's just because um, maybe just because it feels weird to me not to study within a society. But yeah, I think we agree that both things are important and that yeah, I think it's a question. I don't know the extent to which schools use digital aids today. I know they talk about it more and more about the use of tablets and apps in teaching, but I don't know the extent to which it is done. It's a good question because technology can help a lot in this regard, and your digital tutor may take the form of an application today. It might be something more sophisticated in future, but imagine if every child would have the entire each lesson in his tablet, which he can review later by topics and even mark the thing he understood less throughout the lesson itself. And there's really no limit to the ways technology can help us. And I'm actually personally a bit interested in this field of integrating technology in education, and I actually don't know a lot about it. It's interesting. Maybe we should find out a bit more for another broadcast.
Okay, so I think this is all the time that we have today, and we'll catch you all next time. Okay, bye.
Bye bye.